Honey, do I look pretty? I lifted my head, my eyes pulling away from the financial news on my iPad. Catherine was standing there, wearing a wine-red, knee-length dress I had never seen before. She did a slow turn, the hem of the skirt swaying in a soft arc. Did she look good? Of course she did. She looked incredible. Catherine, my wife, had earned a sort of legendary status back in college for her beauty, and it wasn't an empty title. Even now, in her early 30s, time seemed to have made a special exception for her, refusing to steal an ounce of her radiance. Instead, it had sanded away the last sharp edges of her youth, replacing them with the rich, complex allure of a mature woman. I watched her, my face a blank mask, my gaze locked on hers. A small smile touched her lips, as if she'd found the answer she was looking for. She glided toward me, leaned down, and planted a soft kiss on my forehead. Honey, I have a girls' night with some friends after work, so I might be back late. Don't wait up for me. I just nodded. Okay. I could tell she was in a remarkably good mood, a kind of light, buoyant energy I rarely saw from her, given her usually cool and composed demeanor. She straightened up, gave me another quick smile, and then grabbed her handbag from the console table by the door. A moment later, she was gone. The door clicked shut, and the smile on my face vanished instantly. My gaze fell on the closed door, my expression turning cold. Something was very wrong with Catherine today. In all the years I'd known her, from our first meeting in college, through dating, to this very day, I had never seen Catherine wear a dress. Not once. Through all 4 seasons, whether at a corporate event or lounging at home on a Sunday, she was always in a pantsuit, casual slacks, or jeans. I mentioned it before, told her I'd love to see her in a dress, or even stockings, something a little more traditionally feminine. She always shut it down, saying dresses were a hassle and impractical. She said she just didn't like that style. Over time, I'd gotten used to her sharp, efficient look and stopped asking, even though I always thought she'd look amazing in a dress. So why the sudden change of heart today? And that red dress? Who was it really for? Was it truly for a girl's night out? My mind, against my will, drifted back years ago. The first time I saw Catherine Miller was during freshman orientation at Columbia. Amidst the chaotic crowd of new students, she stood out. White button-down shirt, light-washed jeans, no makeup, her hair pulled back in a neat, no-nonsense ponytail. She was frowning at a schedule in her hand. In that single glance, it felt like something had slammed into my chest. She was beautiful, but not in a flashy, attention-grabbing way. It was a clean, sharp, almost crystalline beauty. She rarely smiled, which gave her an air of distance. I was hooked instantly. She was my type, the exact image of the independent, intelligent, and unconventional woman I'd always dreamed of. So, I launched a full-scale campaign to win her over. Looking back now, my methods were childish and extravagant, fueled by the simple fact that my family had money. I arranged candles in a heart shape on the main lawn, only to get chased across campus by a security guard with a fire extinguisher. I hired a drone to fly a banner with my declaration of love over her dorm building, which earned me a summons to the dean's office. I booked an entire restaurant, filled it with flowers, and hired a live band. The whole campus was talking. Some were envious, some were jealous, but most were just enjoying the show. Catherine, however, remained completely unmoved. Every time, she would just look at me with that same placid expression, her face betraying no emotion. Then she would calmly say, "Jack, I appreciate the gesture, but my priority right now is my education. I'm not thinking about dating until after graduation." Everyone on campus knew who I was. With my SAT scores, I never would have gotten into a top-tier school like this. But my father had donated 2 new academic buildings, and my name magically appeared on the acceptance list. I was the special case, the legacy admission on steroids. The professors were polite to me, and the students whispered behind my back. I didn't care. That's just how I am. When I want something, I get it. Not interested until after graduation? Fine, I could wait. But she was brilliant and beautiful, and guys were constantly circling. So, I made a public declaration. Catherine Miller was the woman I was going to be with, and anyone with a brain would stay away. That announcement actually worked, clearing the field considerably. For 4 years, I just stayed by her side, a quiet guardian. Thinking about it now, it was a near-obsessive persistence. Maybe, in the end, that's what finally won her over. After we graduated, We started dating, and it felt natural. She was fiercely capable and ambitious. My family provided the seed money to help her launch her own company, and I was there every step of the way, making sure nothing stood in her path. She quickly made a name for herself in the business world, becoming the impressive Ms. Miller that people admired. We went from dating to marriage seamlessly. I gave her everything I could, a life of luxury, unwavering support for her career, and absolute fidelity. I thought we were happy. I thought we were the model couple everyone envied. I had grown accustomed to her decisive, powerhouse personality and to the rare moments of vulnerability and dependence she only ever showed to me. I thought that balance would last forever. Until today. Until that jarring red dress, which felt like a sharp splinter piercing the comfortable fabric of my life. In the days that followed, I became hyper-aware. I paid attention to everything she did. When she took a call, I'd pretend to be scrolling on my phone, but my ears would be straining to catch her words. I noticed her phone, at some point, had been set with a new Touch ID. It was no longer unlocked by my fingerprint, as it had been for years. When she answered calls, she started instinctively walking out to the balcony or closing the door to the home office, her voice lowered to a murmur. Her arrival time from work became erratic. Sometimes it was a late meeting, other times it was traffic. One evening, she was in the shower, the water running loudly. Her phone, charging on the kitchen counter, lit up. An iMessage notification popped up on the lock screen. Even though my fingerprint was gone, I still knew her passcode. I unlocked it and tapped on the message. The contact was saved as Ryan Zhao, major client. The message was short, but it was enough to make the blood rush to my head. For tomorrow's meeting, I hope to see you in that dress again. That dress? Unless I was mistaken, he meant the red one. She didn't own any others. And this Ryan Zhao. Right, it hit me. About a month ago, she had complained at the dinner table about a new major client. The project had huge potential, but the representative they sent was a young, successful, and incredibly difficult executive named Ryan Zhao. He was demanding, nitpicky, and exhausting to communicate with. I remember her rubbing her temples, her voice filled with weariness and frustration. But then, starting a few weeks ago, her tone when mentioning the project and Mr. Zhao had changed. The frustration was gone, replaced by a subtle, suppressed excitement. At the time, I was happy for her, thinking she had finally figured out how to handle him. It turns out, all the signs were there. My hand tightened around the phone, the plastic creaking under the pressure. My eyes grew colder. Ryan Zhao. Mr. Zhao. I muttered to myself. Let me find out this is what I think it is, and I'll make you regret it. I needed proof. I don't make moves I'm not sure about. I didn't say a word, didn't let a single flicker of suspicion show on my face. I called Frank Costello, a private investigator I'd used for business matters before. My voice over the phone was devoid of any emotion. Frank, I need you to find something for me. Absolute discretion. I want Catherine Miller's communications and movements for the past 2 months. There was a brief pause on the other end. Frank was probably surprised, but he was a professional. He didn't ask questions. Got it, was all he said. During the 2 days I waited for his report, I was still the attentive husband, maybe even more gentle and patient than usual. Catherine seemed lost in her own world and didn't notice the change in me. But my eyes never truly left her. I was like a detached observer watching an actress on a stage. I saw her staring at her phone screen, her fingers hovering over the keyboard, the corners of her mouth turning up in an unconscious, gentle curve, a smile that held a girlish shyness. I saw her get flustered by a sudden text message, losing focus during conference call, even nicking her finger while cutting fruit. I saw her come home the next day with an exquisite, unfamiliar bottle of perfume. She spritzed a little on her wrist, sniffed it delicately, and her eyes lit up with a kind of joy. That light in her eyes, it used to shine only for me. When she landed her first major contract, when we were picking out furniture for our first house, on the rare occasions she'd cook for my birthday, her eyes would light up just like that. Now, who was that light for? For Ryan Zhao, for the dress he recommended, for his message saying he hoped she'd wear it. With every new detail I uncovered, my heart hardened a little more. The initial rage and pain were slowly being replaced by a deeper, almost numb coldness. The woman who shared my bed was letting her heart and mind drift to another man, her emotions rising and falling based on his words and actions. The feeling made my stomach turn worse than swallowing bile. 2 days later, Frank's encrypted file arrived in a secure email account I kept. I sat alone in my study, the curtains drawn tight. Taking a deep breath, like preparing for a blow, I opened the file. Frank was a true professional. Inside was a meticulously organized folder. Call logs, screenshots of text message conversations, and over a dozen photos taken from a distance. My eyes were glued to the screen as my fingers scrolled. The call log showed that in the last month, Catherine's contact with one particular number was abnormally high. Calls and texts at all hours of the day, far exceeding the scope of normal business communication. The registered owner of the number was clearly listed, Ryan Zhao. I opened the folder of iMessage screenshots. Ryan Zhao was clearly an expert at this game. His messages weren't crude or overtly flirtatious. At first, they were all about work, mixed with compliments about her talent and perfectly timed expressions of concern. He didn't come across as sleazy or annoying. He had the vibe of a supportive, older brother figure, the kind of guy you'd naturally want to talk to more. Then, as they got more familiar, the messages became more probing. Catherine, the way you shot down my point in the meeting today, your eyes were electric. I was genuinely impressed. Sent, 6:05 p.m., the 15th of last month. I've reviewed the new proposal. The overall strategy is solid, but the details need polishing. How about we discuss it over dinner? I know a fantastic Italian place, very private, perfect for talking things through. Sent, 5:20 p.m., the 3rd of this month. Honestly, a woman as creative, decisive, and beautiful as you is a rare find these days. I'd sincerely like to be your friend. Sent, 3:15 p.m., the 6th of this month. You have incredible charisma, you know? It's just hidden under those formal pantsuits. You have amazing legs, so straight and long. Why do you always wear pants? You should try a dress. It would be stunning. Sent, 4:50 p.m., 6 days ago. That last message was sent the night before Catherine bought the red dress. He had barely suggested it, and she had already taken the bait. Son of a bitch, I hissed at the screen. I was right. I had never been this angry in my entire life. A murderous rage filled me. I'll make them both pay for this. My fingers, stiff and cold, continued to scroll. Catherine's replies had evolved. They started as professional and politely distant. You're too kind, mister. Zhao, I'm just doing my job, and thank you for the feedback. I'll refine the proposal. Gradually, they softened into hesitation. Do you really think it would suit me? I haven't worn a dress in ages, and Mr. Zhao, I didn't realize you had an eye for fashion. And then, her tone took on an undeniable pleasure from the compliments. I'm sure you have great taste, Ryan. And well, maybe I'll give it a try. Finally, there was a location pin from Ryan Zhao for a high-end boutique on Madison Avenue, followed by a link to a specific dress on their website. This red one with the lace panels. The design is brilliant, elegant, but with a hint of sexy. It would be perfect for your complexion and vibe. Trust me, go try it on. The file showed that the next day, Catherine took a half-day off from work, telling her assistant she had a client meeting. Her credit card statement confirmed it. That afternoon, she made a very expensive purchase at that exact boutique. A red dress. I closed my eyes, picturing the scene. The secret excitement she must have felt walking into that store, trying on the dress another man had picked for her. Turning in front of the mirror, studying her reflection, her thoughts consumed with how he would react when he saw her in it. 5. After reviewing the texts, I had to take a moment to steady myself before opening the photos. The first was taken at an upscale Cantonese restaurant with a view of Central Park, a place I recognized because we went there often. A handsome, polished man, undoubtedly Ryan Zhao, sat across from Catherine. He was dressed impeccably, his hair perfectly styled, leaning forward slightly to top off her wine glass. His eyes were glued to her face. Catherine was looking down, picking at her food with her chopsticks, but a clear smile played on her lips, and a faint blush colored her cheeks. That was not the look of someone merely dealing with a client. The second photo was outside the restaurant. Ryan was holding the car door open for her, one hand hovering protectively over her head in a gentlemanly gesture. But his gaze was lowered, fixed on the curve of her cheek and the line of her neck. Catherine was bending to get into the car. Her expression wasn't clear, but her body language showed no resistance. The third was in front of the Madison Avenue boutique. Ryan was holding a shopping bag with the brand's logo, saying something to Catherine. She was looking up at him with a wide, unguarded, radiant smile, the kind of pure, unadulterated happiness I thought she only ever showed me. Each photo was a poisoned needle, stabbing into my eyes, into my heart. As I reached the end, I realized something was missing. There was no smoking gun, no picture of them in bed. Not yet, anyway. But this emotional drifting, this intimate ambiguity, dressing up to please another man, the deception, the carefully constructed lies. All of it was just the prelude to the main event. Luckily, I had caught it early. But with something like this, once you discover it, you have to cut it out completely. Otherwise, even if you stay together, it's like having a fly buzzing in your gut forever. There's no going back to happiness. I saved the files, picked up my phone, and dialed the number. My best friend since childhood, and now the top lawyer at his firm, Mark Shun. When he answered, my voice was as flat as a dial tone. Mark, I need you to draw up a divorce agreement. What? Jack, what's going on? You and Catherine. Mark's voice was laced with shock. Draft it to be as favorable to me as possible, I said, cutting him off. Asset division, company shares, every detail. Maximize my interests. Get it to me as soon as you can. The other end was silent for a moment. Then came the professional, cool reply. I understand. Give me 2 days. 6 with the evidence in hand and the divorce agreement drafted to my exact specifications. I chose Friday evening for the confrontation. Catherine came home from work in that same good mood. She even offered to cook, making my favorite dish, braised short ribs. At the dinner table, she chattered on about the weather and trivial matters from her day at the office. I offered one-word replies, showing little interest in conversation. She seemed to sense my coldness, her voice trailing off until the room fell into a heavy, awkward silence. After we finished eating, I put down my fork. Instead of heading to the living room to watch TV like I usually did, I looked straight at her. Catherine, come sit down. We need to talk. She froze for a second, a questioning look on her face, but she did as I asked, taking a seat on the armchair opposite the sofa where I sat. I didn't waste any time. I pushed the thin file folder that was sitting on the coffee table toward her. Sign it, I said, my voice empty of all warmth. She gave me a confused look, reached for the folder, and opened it. The moment she saw the words divorce agreement, the color drained from her face. Her lips began to tremble violently. Jack, honey, what kind of joke is this? She forced a brittle smile, trying to play it off as some twisted prank. But I could see the guilt in her eyes. I'm not joking. When have I ever joked about something like this? I watched her, my expression unmoving. What? What do you mean? Her voice was a high-pitched, trembling shriek. Jack, are you insane? Out of nowhere. Why would you want a divorce? I knew her too well. She had never lost her composure like this. Out of nowhere. My voice was still ice. You mean, while things are going so well between you and Ryan Zhao? If I don't file for divorce now, how long until I'm officially the last one know? The moment I said his name, Catherine's body went rigid. Then, she shot up from the chair. That's not true, she screamed, like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. Her denial was hysterical. You have no right to accuse me. My relationship with Mr. Zhao is strictly professional. There's a limit to these insane suspicions, you know. Professional? I let out a cold laugh. I leaned down and picked up the printouts of the most damning photos and text messages from the file. I threw them on the coffee table in front of her. Then take a good look at this. Texting at 11 p.m. on a Sunday about how you can't wait to see him tomorrow? Is that professional? Private dinners with candlelight and wine. Is that professional? Him taking you shopping for a dress he personally picked out for you. Is that professional, too? As Catherine's eyes fell on the black and white text and the crystal clear photos, it was as if all the strength was sucked out of her body. She stood frozen, trembling uncontrollably. Her eyes were wide, her pupils filled with sheer panic and devastation. You had me investigated. Her voice was a broken whisper, thick with shock and accusation. And I shouldn't have. I stood up, towering over her, the rage I'd suppressed for days finally erupting. Did you think I was a complete idiot? Watching you smile at your phone like a fool every day? Watching you get all dressed up for another man? watching you make up excuses for coming home late, while I was supposed to be worried about you, making excuses for you. Did you think I'd start blaming myself, wondering if I wasn't good enough, wondering if you were bored with me? My voice grew louder, losing all restraint. And you, Catherine, you were basking in another man's sweet talk, soaking up the validation and admiration he gave you. You broke your own rules and wore a dress for him. You even forgot our wedding anniversary last Wednesday. You tell me, Catherine, shouldn't I have investigated? I didn't. It wasn't. Her last line of defense shattered. Catherine collapsed back onto the sofa, burying her face in her hands and breaking into wrenching sobs. Her shoulders shook violently. It was a moment of weakness. I swear, it was just a moment of weakness. He's just good with words. He gave me so much validation for my work, and I just enjoyed the feeling of being admired, of being pursued. I never, ever thought about betraying you. Jack, please, you have to believe me. Nothing happened. I never did anything to disrespect our marriage. She was sobbing hysterically, trying to crawl toward me to grab my hand. I yanked it away with disgust. The feeling of being admired? I brushed off the spot on my sleeve where she'd almost touched me. Catherine, you were a top student, and now you're the CEO of a company. Don't tell me you couldn't see what his intentions were. He says one word, and you run out and buy the dress. You leave your husband at home while you prance around in a dress you bought to please another man, practicing in the mirror to see how you can get his attention. Your moment of weakness, Catherine, is disgusting. No, it wasn't to please him. I just wanted to change. I thought maybe you would like it. She pleaded, her tear-streaked face looking up at me, a futile attempt at a defense. Shut up, I roared, my contempt overflowing. You're still lying. Before he told you to wear a dress, you never wanted to change your image. When I asked you to wear stockings, you refused pretty damn quickly, didn't you? Just sign the papers, take what little you're entitled to, and get the hell out of my life. I leaned in close, my voice low, each word a precisely aimed dart. Otherwise, I have no problem making sure these photos and messages end up in the inbox of every single employee at your company. And as for your friend, Ryan Zhao, don't think I don't know his story. His little tech startup, Zenith Innovations, was funded entirely by his wife's family. That young genius reputation he has, he earned it by marrying into money and power. And you've probably heard what kind of business his wife's family is in. Even I wouldn't want to cross them. What do you think would happen to you, to him, and to your entire family if this file landed in his wife's hands? Catherine's sobs stopped abruptly. She looked up, her face a mask of pure terror, as if she were seeing a stranger. Her eyes were filled with despair. She finally understood. No explanation, no tears would work. Her actions had utterly destroyed every last bit of trust and love I had for her. A tidal wave of regret and fear consumed her. She slumped from the sofa onto the floor, curling into a ball on the rug, crying without a sound. I didn't give her another look. I grabbed the jacket I'd laid out earlier and walked toward the front door without a moment's hesitation. The divorce was finalized with brutal efficiency, thanks to my unwavering resolve. Buried under the weight of shock and shame, Catherine put up almost no fight, signing the agreement that left her with practically nothing. She got a small condo on the outskirts of the city with low market value and a minor cash settlement. The company shares, our marital home, and the vast majority of our joint assets all went to me. They were mine to begin with. What she received was a severance package for her years of work. While the divorce was being processed, my revenge against Ryan Zhao was already in motion. The file Frank had compiled on him was damning. The man's background was filthy. He'd married into a powerful family with deep roots in the city's real estate development, and his father-in-law had set him up with Zenith Innovations. With his good looks and smooth talk, he'd cultivated a reputation as a rising star in the tech world. In reality, he habitually used his position to play emotional games with women, especially successful career women in stable but perhaps passionless marriages, women who craved external validation. He probably saw Catherine as just another target, beautiful, successful, with a husband who was likely too busy to appreciate her. Another easy conquest to feed his ego. He just messed with the wrong husband, and my retribution was more than he could bear. First, I had Frank anonymously deliver a neatly packaged file to Ryan Zhao's wife. It contained irrefutable evidence of his affairs, not just with one woman, but several, and the crown jewel, proof of a son he had with one of them. The wife's family was notorious for being tough and unforgiving. More importantly, she and Ryan had been married for years and were childless. The existence of his secret son was a fatal blow. As expected, his wife exploded. The news came back quickly. Ryan was thrown out of the house. Everything he had gained through his marriage, his management role at the company, his access to capital, his lavish lifestyle, was instantly revoked. Even more viciously, rumor had it his formidable wife used her family's connections to ensure he lost his ability to ever father a child again. Overnight, he went from the celebrated CEO of Zenith to a broke, disgraced, and physically broken man. The flock of women who had once fluttered around him vanished without a trace. But that wasn't nearly enough. His wife's revenge was her business. I still hadn't gotten mine. My goal was to utterly destroy him socially, to ensure he could never get back on his feet. And then I would send him to hell. Ryan Zhao, it turned out, wasn't ready to give up. He was a skilled con man, after all, cut off from his wife's family. He tried to stage a comeback. He leveraged the few remaining contacts he had, people who had dealt with him because of his wife's influence, and scraped together some funding, even taking out loans from sharks. Miraculously, he managed to launch a small new tech company. He thought he could rise again. His new company had just landed 2 promising initial projects when I made my move. I used my own business network to approach his new clients. Offering them a far superior deal, I effortlessly poached both of his core projects. His company's cash flow instantly dried up. Next, a stream of anonymous tips began flowing to his competitors, potential investors, and regulatory agencies. The tips contained detailed proof of his past professional misconduct, taking kickbacks, sabotaging rivals, and a full, sordid account of his personal life. This was the kill shot. His carefully crafted image as a brilliant, reliable partner shattered completely. His reputation was toxic. Somehow, he figured out I was behind it. One morning, as I was walking into my office building, a figure darted out from the side and dropped to his knees right in front of me. "Mr. Peterson, Jack, sir, I know I was wrong. For the love of God, please, just let me live. Please." He was a grown man, kneeling on the pavement and wailing, completely oblivious to the stares of passers-by. It took me a second to recognize him through the dishevelment. Ryan Zhao. The refined suits and smooth demeanor were gone. He was wearing an expensive suit, but it was rumpled and stained, clearly unwashed for days. A sour smell hung about him. Well, I said calmly. "If it isn't the city's celebrated young genius, Ryan Zhao, what happened to you?" Rage flickered in his eyes, but he quickly smothered it. It was all my fault, and he knew it. Most of his funding was from loan sharks. With his projects gone, the deadlines for repayment were looming, and his life was on the line. But he kept his face plastered with a pleading, pathetic smile. "Sir, you're joking. It was all my fault. I was blind. I was an idiot. You're a bigger man than me. Please, just give me a break." "I could do that," I said thoughtfully, "but I have a condition." "Anything. I'll do anything," he blurted out, so relieved he started knocking his forehead on the pavement. "You have a thing for dresses, right?" I said, my voice light and casual. "If you can put on a dress and run the entire perimeter of Manhattan, I might consider it. And a pair of black stockings would really complete the look." He looked up, his face a mask of horror and humiliation. He used to be somebody in this city, and running the perimeter of Manhattan, that would take days, maybe over a week. "Sir, isn't that a bit?" he stammered, hoping I'd offer something else. "If you find it too difficult, then forget it. I wouldn't want to force you," I said, turning to walk into my building. Once that door closed, he knew he'd never get another chance. "Okay, I'll do it," Ryan choked out, his face crimson with shame. "I'll do it right now. I hope you're a man of your word." Fearing I'd changed my mind, he scrambled to his feet and ran off. I had my assistant hire a dozen live streamers. For the next 2 weeks, they provided 24/7 coverage of Ryan Zhao, dressed in a woman's dress and torn stockings, jogging along the West Side Highway, through the Bronx, and down the FDR Drive. As for Catherine, it was only after the divorce that she truly understood how good she'd had it. She had lost the man who had provided her with a life of unconditional support and stability. She had lost the marriage and home she had spent years building. Living on her meager settlement in that small condo, she took a job nearby. Every night, coming home to the empty apartment, she was haunted by memories of the warm, beautiful life she had thrown away, and she cried herself to sleep. When she heard about Ryan Zhao's sordid history and his secret child, she finally saw him for what he was, a hollow man, a gilded fraud. She compared the slick, manipulative man who had charmed her with his empty words to the powerful, decisive man she had been married to, and she realized Ryan couldn't measure up to a fraction of me. She started trying to contact me obsessively. I blocked her number, so she called from new ones. When I'd accidentally answer, all I heard was her choked sobbing. "Jack, I know I was wrong. Please, I'm begging you, just see me one more time." I blocked her on all social media, so she sent new friend requests, the messages filled with frantic remorse. It was my ego, my vanity. I was a fool to listen to his lies and hide it from you. "Please give me one more chance, just one." She started waiting for me outside my office and our old apartment building. "I didn't know how much I loved you until I lost you. I can't live without you. Ryan Zhao is human garbage. I was just confused for a moment. The only person I love is you. It's always been you." She cried. She pleaded. She abandoned all her pride and dignity, desperate to claw back even a sliver of what she'd lost. But all she received in return was my ice-cold rejection and complete indifference. My assistant would politely but firmly intercept her. "Ms. Miller, Mr. Peterson is in a meeting. He's not seeing anyone." Each new number she used was blocked after a single call. Her messages went unanswered, like stones dropped into a bottomless well. She could wait outside my building all night, only to watch my car sweep directly into the underground garage without so much as a pause. The last time was in early winter. A freezing rain mixed with sleet was falling. She waited outside my condo building for 4 hours, soaked to the bone, shivering violently. When she finally saw my car approaching, she threw herself in front of it, pounding on the driver's side window. The window slid down an inch, revealing my motionless profile. Jack," she stammered, her lips purple from the cold, rain and tears mixing on her cheeks. "Can you just give me 5 minutes? I need to talk to you." "Catherine," I said, my voice colder than the winter rain, cutting her off. "We're finished. Your tears, your regret, they mean nothing to me now. They're just pathetic." The last spark of hope died in her eyes. "What you did destroyed my ability to trust you," I continued. "Even if it wasn't Ryan Zhao, who's to say there wouldn't be a Tom, Dick, or Harry next? So don't ever show up in front of me again. Leave yourself with the last shred of dignity you have left." With that, the window slid shut, sealing her out, a miserable, rain-drenched figure of despair. My car didn't hesitate as it descended into the garage, disappearing from her sight. Catherine collapsed onto the cold, wet pavement, her wails lost in the storm, knowing she could never win back the man who had once held her in the palm of his hand. Inside the car, I rubbed my temples. I felt a wave of exhaustion, but beneath it, there was a profound sense of peace and relief that comes from making a clean break with the past. By the time Ryan Zhao finished his run, he found the loan sharks waiting for him at the finish line. They bundled him into a car. Inside, he saw his illegitimate son sitting there. The shock of it all was too much, and he passed out. A year later, I was driving to a hotel I'd booked, a beautifully wrapped gift sitting on the passenger seat. It was for Chloe. Chloe Vance was a brilliant and independent designer I'd met when she represented a partner firm on a project. I met her at an industry gala. Her bright, confident energy was a stark contrast to the gloom that had been hanging over me. After the event, we ended up talking for hours. From there, things just naturally developed. She knew I was recently divorced, but never pried. Instead, in her own way, she slowly chased away the last shadows from my heart. She would drag me to try new restaurants, take me to obscure but fascinating art exhibits, and show up at my office late at night with a thermos of homemade soup, making sure I ate and rested. Being with her, I felt a lightness and happiness I hadn't felt in a long, long time. On the day Chloe and I got married, we threw a huge wedding. A mutual friend of mine and Catherine's brought a gift box. Catherine's been diagnosed with severe depression, our friend said in a low voice. She was hospitalized a while back. Before she went in, She made me promise to give this to you. I looked at the elegantly wrapped box and paused for a few seconds. Thanks, I told him. I appreciate you bringing it. After he left, I didn't open the box. Whatever was inside was meaningless to me now. The past belongs in the past. I tossed it onto the large pile of other wedding gifts without a second thought. I turned and looked out the window. The sun was shining. Across the lawn, Chloe was laughing with her friends, her white wedding dress making her glow. I took a deep breath and walked toward her. My life was here now. Our new life was just beginning.